Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Stitched Up. So today, as promised, is going to be the review of the little black dress. And yep, I'm wearing it right now and I will insert some pictures a little bit later on in this vlog to show you the finished article. But first, let me just tell you a little bit about the reason behind this dress. And yeah, I have been sewing, as many of you will know, I've been sewing about 5 years now. And in all that time, I have never ever made myself a little black dress. I think we all get caught up when we first start sewing in the novelty prints and the really nice, gorgeous sort of designs that are out there and brights and all that kind of thing. And we just push the blacks to one side totally because, you know, it's a bit boring, isn't it? Let's be honest. But a little black dress is a staple in every woman's wardrobe, as I'm sure most of you would agree. And one of the things that I find with my body shape is that when I used to buy ready-to-wear clothes, trying to get a really nice sort of fitted sheath type dress was just impossible. I'm much smaller up top and around the waist than I am around the hips. And with me being tall as well, getting the right length and just getting something to fit me was just an absolute nightmare. So firstly, let me just say it is really bright. I'm in my conservatory. I am absolutely roasting. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous morning here in Yorkshire. And yeah, I'm a bit warm, so I'm really sorry if I'm looking a bit a bit warm there. I've got the door to the garden open and yeah, if you can hear the noise in the background from the birds tweeting away and the motorway in the background, I'm really sorry. But anyway, back to the dress. So yeah, and it's only sort of recently that I have been thinking, you know, I really ought to make myself a little black dress. It's the type of garment that you tend to reach for whenever you've got a bit of an event going on, whether that's, you know, an evening out, a date night, funeral even. Yeah, so there's lots of occasions where I anticipate getting a lot of wear out of this dress. Now, the pattern that I decided to choose, when I was thinking about what I wanted to make, I knew that I wanted to make a fairly fitted sheath dress. As many of you know, I have recently lost a fair bit of weight and I'm feeling much more comfortable in my own skin and definitely a lot more comfortable wearing this type of silhouette. So I wanted something that was fairly fitted, but I also wanted to go for comfort as well. And I knew that I would have to make adjustments no matter which pattern I chose, because one of the key things when you are making something that is fitted is that there are going to have to be adjustments that you make no matter what shape or size that you are. It's just impossible to have something that's going to fit you straight out of the sewing pattern packet. So I had a little scoot round at what was out there and I didn't want to go for something with lots and lots of features. So I wanted something fairly plain that was just going to be a classic. So the design that I actually chose was this one, and on the packet it doesn't actually really grab you, but when you look at the line drawings, and I definitely thought it had the kind of features that I wanted just to be that classic little black dress. So this is McCall's M7861. So this is it here. And yeah, if you look at the front picture, it's definitely not something that's really going to grab your attention. And yeah, but this pattern, it says that it's a semi-fitted dress with lined bodice and body dart, invisible back zipper with hook and eye, and neckline, sleeve and length variations. BD skirt has centre back slit. So if I just show you the line drawings on the back there, hopefully you can actually see those. You can see that it is fairly simply designed, and yeah, it was exactly the kind of thing that I was looking for to make this dress. So I decided that I was going to go for View B, which is this one on the front here. Doesn't she look gorgeous in that lovely, lovely fabric? I just think that looks so classic and so elegant. So yeah, that's basically what I decided to go for. Now, originally I was thinking of pattern A, this one here with the sleeveless version, but I thought, you know, I'm going to get more wear out of it if it's got little sleeves, because at least in the winter time I can wear it for an evening out, and I can also wear it this time of year as well in spring. So I thought, you know, it's gonna have more versatility in my wardrobe if I've got some sleeves on. So yeah, so I decided to go for the short sleeve version. The fabric that I chose for this, I wanted something with some stretch in it, but something that would give the structure needed to hold the design of the dress. So I chose this black cotton sateen. It's a Lady McElroy fabric, and I bought it from Minerva, and I think it was about £10 a metre, and I used a couple of metres for this. It is totally self-lined, the bodice, so I've used exactly the same fabric for the lining. Didn't decide to use sort of like a thin polyestery satin type lining. I just decided to go for the self-lined fabric basically. So it's quite structured up top, and as usual I didn't have the exact colour match of zip in my stash for this dress, so I decided to go with a contrasting invisible zip, which is red. So yeah, so I'll show you that in a little while. Now this is a darted bodice, as you will see. If I just show you the line drawings again at the bottom, you can see that that is a darted bodice there, and I always struggle with darted bodices to fit me. And the reason for that is A, I'm not 18 and don't have my bust point sort of high up like 18-year-olds do, and that sewing patterns seem to be designed for that type of figure. So I tend to have to lower the bust darts quite significantly. I'm also very hollow chested as well. I'm very thin around here and tend to be quite bony, and I always find that these bodices with lower necklines that need to be fitted to your chest, I always have lots of gaping here. I tend to always have a lot of gaping around the neck as well, and if you look at this particular bodice, you'll see that it does still slightly stand away from my neck, and I have made a lot of adjustments. I'm going to insert a little bit of footage now just to show you some of the adjustments that I made and how I did them. So I'll just insert that here. Right, so I wanted to show you some of the changes that I needed to make to the bodice. Now, because I lengthened the bodice here, it meant that I needed to lower the point of the waist dart by the same distance. So that was a fairly simple adjustment to make. The original dart for the bust dart was here, and all I did was lower that by a good inch and redrew the dart in that position there. Now, as I mentioned, as I'll mention later on in the vlog, I needed to reduce some of the gaping in the front neckline because I've got quite a hollow chest. So all you need to do, if you need to reduce width out of your neckline, you can see that I have reduced width. Yeah, I don't know if you can just see it underneath the pattern paper there, that I've folded it over by about an inch and increased the width in the side bust dart here. To do this is really simple. All you need to do is draw a line from anywhere along the front neckline edge where you want to reduce width, right down to the apex point of the bust dart, and then basically all you do is you cut down that line almost to that bust dart point, but without actually cutting right up to it. And then if I just turn this round, you cut one of your bust dart legs, again almost to but not through. And then that then allows you to manipulate this piece. So you can basically, if I needed to take more out of this front neckline, I could manipulate it by crossing over by the amount that I need to take out of that neckline, sticking that down, which then transfers that excess from that neckline into the bust dart. So then I would just sellotape this down. I put an extra bit of paper underneath that bust dart leg there, stick that down, and then you've taken out the width of the neckline, transferred it into that bust dart, and that will be obviously taken out when you close that bust dart up. and then you just true up that neckline edge again, which, you know, you just draw a straight line and it's done. It's as simple as that. So that's the method that I used to take out the excess of that front neckline edge, and it worked really, really well. So hopefully from that you can see that I did need to make a lot of adjustments to this bodice, and I don't think that that is any detriment to the actual design of, or the drafting of this particular pattern. It is purely the adjustments that I need to make no matter what pattern I choose, if I'm making something that's very, very fitted in the top half. So the only other adjustments that I did make to the actual dress itself was to lengthen the bodice by 1 inch so that it hit me on my natural waist, and I also lengthened the skirt by a good couple of inches as well, with me being tall. I wanted it to hit just below my knee, yeah, it was, I will say it was a really very straightforward sew. Once I've got all the adjustments made, it was a straightforward sew, easy to put together, and yeah, got it done in a day. So I did make a toile for this as well. I just used some cheap gingham cotton that I had in my stash so that I could play around with the adjustments and make sure that I got the fit right. And I'm absolutely thrilled to bits with the finished dress. I just feel amazing in it, and I think it looks classy, I think it looks elegant. I'm sure I'll get lots of wear out of it. I have worn it on a date night already, and I feel so good in it. It's so nice when you can get something that just fits you just right. As I say, it's not perfect. None of the things that we make I think ever are perfect, and there's probably still a couple of tweaks I would need to do if I was going to do this again. I would like to make another version probably without the sleeves for summer. I think that would be nice, in maybe a lighter weight cotton. That would be nice for a summer garden party or wedding or whatever, but yeah, let me show you the finished dress so you can have a look. Right, so if I stand back you can see the dress in its entirety. So it comes to just below my knee, as you can see there. If I turn around, it's got this lovely sort of split at the back there. It's very, very fitted in the bodice. I don't know how much you are going to be able to see of the actual darts and everything, because obviously it's black, and black never shows up on screen very well, but it's got this lovely sweetheart neckline, little sort of cap sleeves, and I quite like how these finish, that they're not too tight around your upper arm, and I think they tend to be quite flattering. The bust darts are here, so they do sort of point to my apex, but obviously not right on the bust point, which would look a bit strange. And it's got waist darts which are there as well, and they join up to the darts that go down the skirt front just there. Obviously a waist seam which hits perfectly on my waist, and if you hear me screaming in a minute, it's because a wasp has just flown into my conservatory. Turning round, you've got back darts, which obviously helps to fit the bodice really nicely into the curve of your back, and then they join up to the darts in the back of the skirt just there. Side seams, it's nice and fitted, and yeah, I love it. I really, really love it. I will put some pictures in. I'm going to take some pictures in my garden so you can see it. If I just come in a bit closer so you can see the neckline, I'm really pleased with how this neckline hugs my body. Now if you look at this side is pretty perfect. I'm really chuffed with that. This side is not so perfect. It does gape just a little bit just here, and I think what I've done is, when I've been manipulating it a little bit, what I had to do with the lining inside, even when I'd done my toile and got the fit right, what I did was I sewed up the lining of the actual finished dress first and put the zip in, and then tried it on again before I did the outer bodice. And that's always a good tip if you're doing a lined bodice, and you've done your toile and you want to do it in your real fabric, is always just to construct the lining first and get the actual finished fit just perfect on your lining before you do the outer shell. That's always a really good tip to follow. But yeah, when I did my lining of the bodice, I noticed that it was still gaping out just a little bit here. So I had to take in a dart on the lining just here on both sides by ½ an inch on each side to get it to hug to my body a bit more. And once I'd done that, I then transferred that onto the outer shell pattern piece again. The other thing, oh yeah, size wise, I haven't told you what size I made. I made the size, I started off with the size 12 bodice, but with all the adjustments that I needed to make, obviously to bring it in here, lowering the bust dart and taking in a good wedge. I took in about 1 inch from either side of the neckline at the back, and then graded that down to nothing further down to meet the darts at the back. But yeah, I started off with a 12 and needed to nip it in a few places. The waist, I think, was a 12 as well. I didn't go down any further, but I actually graded out to a 16 on the hip. And all I did to do that was mark off the hip point of the 16 on the skirt piece, and then from the 12 waist, and I just used my French curve just to join that up, and that worked really well. I did end up still just taking in slightly once the finished dress was made, because it was just a little bit too loose around here. I don't think I could have quite got away with a 14. I think it would have been too tight across my hip, but yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I think it's really quite a sexy little dress, and yeah, one of those classic staples that you would get a lot of wear out of. So that's it from me today. I hope you've enjoyed this little review of this fabulous little pattern, and I hope it encourages you to actually have a look at some patterns that you normally pass by. Don't always be taken in by what's on the front of the packet of the sewing pattern, because quite often they don't look very inspiring. But if you can just use your imagination a little bit and think a little bit more about some of the classic design features and the simple ideas, you can end up with something that looks really nice. So I hope you like my dress, and yeah, if you want to leave me a comment down below about what you think, then please do. So whatever you're doing and whatever you're up to, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll be back with you really soon. Take care, bye bye.